Domino's was the absolute last place I ever imagined I'd be working. I was supposed to be the next big shot lawyer in my family, which is stacked with them. But I bailed on law school. Annoyed, my parents completely cut me off, so I had to grab whatever job I could. Working those night hours sucked, but the pay was good enough to keep me afloat and still have time for my art projects. It was a scorching Saturday night in the middle of a Texas summer. The digital clock on the wall had just ticked past midnight. I was cleaning the counter, ready to lock up and head home, when this woman walked in. She looked to be in her late 20s and was covered up head to toe in a shawl, like a bedsheet draped over her whole body. There were fresh bruises around her eyes and cheeks. Her eyes were restless and darting around. She looked terrified, but also determined, like she was forcing herself to be there. She walked up to the counter and ordered a small plain pizza and a Coke. Her voice was shaky. I rang her up. She paid in cash and sat down at one of the tables, hunched over, clutching her stomach like she was in pain. At first, I figured she was homeless and starving. I felt bad for her and started making her pizza. I kept glancing at her while I was working. She was sitting completely still, holding her stomach. The shawl was draped over her entire body. You couldn't see anything underneath. When I finished cooking the pizza, I put it in a box with the Coke and walked over to her table. "Here you go." I smiled, setting it down in front of her, when my eyes caught a movement under the shawl at her midsection where her hands were. She noticed me staring and stiffened. Our eyes met. She went pale as a ghost and started shivering. Without saying a word, she grabbed her order and rushed out the door. I stood there for a minute, trying to process what I'd seen. I was sure I had seen the movement at the midsection. Could she be hiding anything? I should have stayed in the store and minded my own business, but I couldn't. Curiosity and unease pulled at me, and I ended up locking the door behind me as I followed her. Outside, the streets were dimly lit and almost empty. I made sure to keep myself in the shadows. She was walking quickly while eating the pizza with one hand and gripping her stomach with the other. Every few steps, that shawl would shift, like whatever was underneath was moving and trying to get free. I followed her for several minutes, staying back and keeping a distance. She was huffing and wiping sweat. Guilt started creeping in. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe she was a homeless pregnant lady trying to survive this brutal world. That'd explain why she looked so scared and hurt. I almost turned back and went home, but stopped and decided to check on her. Even though I didn't have much, if I could, I'd help her. "Hey, wait!" I called out to her. She stopped, turned around, and looked at me. For a second, neither of us moved. But the moment I took a step forward, she panicked, dropped the pizza, and sprinted down the street. "Hey, wait! I just want to help! Stop!" I chased after her, but she kept running faster, her shawl flapping behind her. She rounded a corner and I followed. I kept screaming at her to stop, assuring her that I didn't want to hurt her, but she kept pulling away. Suddenly, she tripped and went down hard on the sidewalk. As she did, a kid's terrified scream echoed down the street. I stopped dead in my tracks. The woman was on the ground. Her shawl had come undone, but I hardly paid any attention to her. My eyes were glued to the little legs wiggling out from where she'd been clutching her stomach. A young boy, maybe 5 or 6, tumbled onto the pavement, crying. The woman got to her feet fast. She looked at me, then the kid, before she took off, leaving him sobbing, alone and terrified. I hurried over to the boy and knelt. He was crying, shaking hard. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now." I scooped him up in my arms, pulled out my phone, and called 911. I told them what happened and where we were, and that I had a child who'd been taken. They arrived within minutes, with paramedics and police. They took the boy and checked him over. He wasn't hurt, but he was extremely scared and confused. They asked me questions. I told them all I could about her. The police said the boy had been reported missing from a playground 3 hours earlier. His parents were frantic. The woman had taken him and hidden him under the shawl and walked right through the streets with him pressed against her body. Nobody had noticed or seen, except me. But even I almost didn't follow her and let her walk away. Months later, I saw her face on a TV channel. Her name was Gracie Gusto, and she had been arrested as part of a child trafficking ring. She'd been taking kids from the streets to transport them. The shawl was her method. Nobody questioned a weak-looking woman wrapped up and limping by. She'd done it multiple times before. That boy I found wasn't the first, but he was the last, because I didn't ignore what I saw. The fact still makes my stomach churn. What if I had ignored her? What would have happened to that kid? What have they done to all those kids they took? I wonder how many times I've walked past a child on the verge of ruining without noticing or doing anything at all.